Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So, in today's video, uh, I want to react to a video that I just found like yesterday. And I said, wow, I definitely have to talk about this. I was familiar with this guy, as up to a couple of years ago. So I knew when I came across his name, I'm like, I know that name sounds familiar. Um, I've heard a few of his songs. I don't listen to a lot of today's music. There's, some artists that come across my way, and I check them out. Of the songs that I've heard of this guy, there's something that, I can get into, but I'm not going to say I know a lot about his music. Today's reaction is more about something that he said in an interview. So I want to discuss that and just flesh it out a little bit. Today's video is called "There Are a Lot of Guys Who Think They're White in Brazil. They Find Out They're Black the Hard Way," says rapper Coruja BC1. In Portuguese, that would be Coruja or Coruja, I'm not sure. BC1, they would pronounce that. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. As always, I want to talk more. When he does this interview, there's a lot of things that he fleshes out, and I want to just put everything that he said in the context. But he said some incredible things here. So let's get into this video for today. Before I get into it, definitely like this video, share this video, consider subscribing to the channel, and click on the notification bell so that you know when I put up a new video. With that said, let's get directly into the video for today. So there are a lot of guys who think they're white in Brazil. They find out the hard way that they're black. That's something that I've said for a long time, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to just, take into consideration what he's saying, particularly in his own process of identity. It's something that he mentioned in this video where he talks about the division between black people in Brazil, or just, globally, the light skin versus dark skin thing. Of course, Americans are very well familiar with that. And you also have the influence of colorism in Brazil. So Brazilians are increasingly familiar with the idea of colorism, which they call colorismo. Um, I think in what he said in the interview, he's also touching upon the confusion that has happened in Brazil because of widespread, mixing, or what they used to call miscegenation. You find a lot of people in Brazil who don't see themselves as black or white. They see themselves as just Brazilian or something in the middle. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I had to come to my own conclusion and say that the category of pardo, meaning brown or mixed, yeah, there are absolutely people in Brazil who you just can't categorize as one race or another, but I've always maintained that within that Pardo category, there are a lot of people of visible African ancestry, and some of them have made the transition into a Black identity, or identidade negra, as they call it in Brazil. Some have not. You know, for me, I think it would be better, and this is not for me to decide, but I'm just saying, as long as that Pardo category is there, there's always going to be this confusion. There's never going to be an idea, okay, well, just how many black people there are in Brazil. We can't just say people of African descent, because, according to some estimates, 80 to 90% of Brazilians have up to, at least 10% African ancestry. Of course, getting into the whole DNA thing, that makes it a little bit more complex. I don't necessarily believe everything about those DNA tests, but it has created some confusion. And part of this confusion is because of the theory, again, of what we're talking about, embranquecimento, or whitewashing the population, with the aim of the disappearance or near disappearance of all black and brown people in Brazil. I've talked about that over and over. I mean, it's in the history. People have pronounced their support of this, all the way back over 100 years ago. So this is not conspiracy theory. This is actually conspiracy. We want to whiten the population so that black and brown people disappear. He touches upon a little bit of Brazil's standard of Eurocentric beauty, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. And then there's this idea of, well, how can we determine blackness in Brazil? And, one of the common phrases they'll say in Brazil, if you want to know who's black, ask the police, because they don't have a problem identifying with their brutality who's black and who's not in Brazil. And a lot of those black people will be considered pardo. They might be brown. And I'm going to reiterate this. There are millions of pardos in Brazil who you cannot categorize, but there are also pardos who you can basically look and say, okay, this person is light skinned, this person is light brown skin, this person is brown skin. You can tell they're of some mixed degree, but in general, you're going to see them as a black person. So that's just how I see that. So then, what did this rapper Coruja BC1? What did he have to say about that? So right now, what I want to do is I'm not going to just do a flat out overdub today. I'm going to mix in a little bit of what he says with an overdub, and the rest of it, I'm just going to say what he talked about. Okay. So what does he say? There are those who question the veracity of the Willie Lynch letter. There are historians who say that it wasn't real, just like Bach. There are those who say that it is real, but you stop to read it and say, oops, wait a minute. It makes sense because we're living it, using black against black. It's always been the guy's strategy to divide and rule. It's always been like that for any war, And another thing that dehumanizes black people, especially in Brazil, which is an effing mixed race country. First of all, miscegenation, which was a process of extermination in Brazil, while in the U.S. it was more direct, but blacks didn't come out totally helpless. Here in Brazil, they came out totally helpless. In 1910, at the International Council of Races, João Batista de Lacerda said that within 100 years, the Brazilian population would be completely white. Why did he say that? That's because into the 1990s, into the beginning of 2008, it was normal to see people saying that the symbol of beauty, even today we see it, it was the symbol of beauty. It was the Nordic beauty, right? The Nordic, the blonde, the blue eyes for both men and women. That's always been there, implanted in our imagination. It's a very crazy thing, and it's really crazy for me to say this because I'm the son of an interracial relationship. My family is effing interracial. And even in this, without realizing it, when guys question me about it, the guys are more in favor of the racist than in this. Because the miscegenation plan was exactly that. As he gets lighter, the person's thinking gets more towards here, and the debate becomes more difficult for blacks. It becomes more of a minefield for blacks. That's the thing, bro. It's simple. The account is simple. Just look. Stop and look. It's a game of marked cards, bro. It's very marked. Brazil is the most racist country in the world, uncle. I've always said that. I keep saying it. Brazil is the most racist country in the world, bro, because it's the worst kind of racism, bro. It's the worst kind of racism. It's the racism that hits you in the back and is stabbing you with a knife, the paradise of the three races. It's not, bro. It's not, uncle, We know it's effed up, We know how it works, especially in this city where we're in, bro. Sao Paulo, Sao Paulo, Sao Paulo. There are a lot of guys who think they're white. There are a lot of guys who think they're white inside the hood. They find out they're black the hard way. In the police stop. In the police stop, when you're seen in a store, when you're kicked out of a store. I've been through these situations. I've been kicked out of the mall with my cousin, Brequinho. I was kicked out of a mall because we were carrying a bag, the Bauru shopping mall. I'll even say the name, Bauru shopping. I was kicked out of a Bauru shopping when I was 13 years old. Me and my cousin, just because we were carrying a backpack, the security guard put us in a room. A security guard, feel me? Then he sent us away from the mall, Bauru shopping. Why? Because of the clothes? Is it because of the hair? If it's because of my hair, then it's racism. Because you missed the fact that my hair is black hair. My hair is braided. So, so you come to understand, like, no matter how light your skin is, you come to the understanding, well, come on, there are some things that happen here that aren't social. It's not the way you dress, it's other things. Yes, racial. It's racial. It's racial and in the smallest details, right? Because my cousin is a little darker, but in this way, you get the hang of it. You get the hang of it. Damn, bro, come on. This stuff that's ingrained is effed up because we live in a country with a black majority, and it's really crazy, right? Because the blacker you are, the more racism you're going to suffer in Brazil. And there's also the thing about social class. I started to have access to some brothers who are like the third generation of blacks in a better class, middle class, upper middle class. And then I started to realize that these brothers started to tell me that they had a harder time identifying racism. Damn, can you believe it, bro? Yeah. And I thought they'd have an easier time because they lived in a whiter environment.
Caralho.
Você acredita, mano? Sim. E eu achei que eles teriam mais facilidade.
Also, and they started telling me, well, I had a harder time. I already knew that racism was inside the university. I went on to identify what racism was within a university. That's crazy, isn't it, Marcelo? So you heard what Coruja BC1, you heard what he had to say. He covered a lot of ground there. Let me talk a little bit about some of the things that he pointed out in this interview. I'm gonna highlight some of the stuff here. He talked about the Willie Lynch letter. Now, I remember some years ago, a popular Detroit historian that I knew back in the day. He also did a lot of research, and he came to the conclusion that the Willie Lynch letter that divided black against, black, light skinned black against dark skinned black, older blacks against younger blacks. And in his research, he says he couldn't find evidence for the existence of this letter. But even so, whether we say the Willie Lynch letter is real or not, the consequences, this idea of light skin against darker skin is something that we really much see. I mean, I've seen it in the community, in the black community in the United States for years. And we also know that this exists in Brazil. So whether the Willie Lynch letter was real or not, its effects, the outcome is still the same. He talked about the International Council or Congress of Race in London. It was actually in 2011. He said 2010, but close enough. A Brazilian elitist, a statesman, João Batista de Lacerda, he actually said that it would take 100 years for the black population to disappear and the brown population would be down to about 3%. That's what his estimate was. So Brazil actively sought to make the black and brown population disappear through mixing. He touched on the fact that as people get lighter, they tend to think more towards the whiter side. They might even identify with the idea that Brazil is a racial democracy, that racism doesn't exist because they're closer to the whiter side. But it becomes difficult for them when they face this type of discrimination and they can't put their finger on it until they come to decide, oh, maybe I am black. I've never identified as black. I've always identified as just Brazilian, pardo, mestizo, mulatto, or whatever. But in certain instances, Brazil is going to treat me as if I'm just, fully black. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay. The word that they used during the interview was an enquadro, right? It just means like a police stop. Sometimes you'll see the police in Brazil stop a whole line of black and brown people, throw them up against the wall, pat them down. So this is what they were talking about. They say a lot of people come to understand themselves as black after the way that they get treated by the police. He talked a little bit about this idea of, being discriminated against because of the texture of your hair, the way you wear your hair texture, a lot I've said for years, a lot of black Brazilian women will either straighten their hair, they get some type of weave, because for years it was just considered unacceptable to walk around with naturally kinky curly hair, what they call cabelo crespo in Brazil. There were stories where, police would snatch black men off the street who had what they thought was the hair was too long and just force them and shave their heads bald. I, Sometimes you have to wonder. I mean, it's always a question of which country in the world is the most racist. Brazil has to be up there, whether you agree with it or not. When you hear people talk about this is why I made this channel and why I created the blog and back in 2011, because, black Brazilians are speaking out on this themselves. He spoke on the idea that black people in a better upper middle class environment, you're supposed to be shielded from racism at that point because you're in a better social class, but it doesn't always work that way. Some people say that you're actually exposed to more racism because being black or brown in Brazil, you're not expected to be in certain neighborhoods and in certain shopping malls, for example. Like, what are you doing here? Go back to where you belong. We don't care what you have. You don't belong here. That's kind of the ideal. That's what he said. I thought they'd have an easier time because they lived in a whiter environment. Sometimes it's even worse than that. He also said, I went on to identify what racism was within the university. And that's key because a lot of black Brazilians or would-be black Brazilians don't come to understand what racism is until they go to mostly white areas. And at the time, definitely 20 years ago, the university was an area that was almost exclusively white. So it's when they get into environments like the university setting, they come to really see that the racism that anthropologists and sociologists have talked about for years, it's a real thing. It's just that as you were in a primarily poor neighborhood that was more mixed, even though majority black and brown, you still had white people in these poor neighborhoods. You could just kind of live a poor existence. Nobody really cared. But when you cross over and try to live in the white environment where people expect you to be white, then I don't know, some people will say you get your Negro wake-up call. And that's kind of how it happens in Brazil. So let me talk a little bit about the context here. Where I knew of BC1, this rapper, Coruja BC1, I did an article in 2021 where they celebrated, well, it was a 56 years without Malcolm X. Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, as Malcolm wanted to be known for, he was killed. How Malcolm X's dangerous mind helped shape Brazilian rap in the 1990s. He was an enormous influential figure. So this song that was redone that year with four rappers, it was a popular song by the legendary hip hop group in Brazil known as the Racionais MCs. So a bunch of rappers, including one of the original rappers of Racionais MCs, Mano Brown, came back. They got together and redid the song. A lot of Malcolm X's speeches and quotes have been translated into Portuguese. You find people wearing Malcolm X T-shirts with Portuguese translations of his speeches and slogans in Portuguese. This is the original of Voz Ativa by the Racionais MCs from, I think that's from 1992. You see one of the rappers here. This is Coruja right here. He participated in the remake along with Djonga, Mano Brown, and MC Dexter. So let me see. There was something else I wanted to mention here. There was something. Here it is. Rapper Coruja emphasizes the importance of the dialogue between generations in rap and the power of these encounters to inspire new lyrics. He just talks about how the rappers who came before him influenced him to become who he is. Even though some of the top rappers of today in Brazil were not even born when Racionais MCs debuted in the late 80s, early 90s, you can't be an MC in Brazil and not be familiar. The lyrics of the Racionais MCs, highly influential. You can see Racionais was just as important as like Public Enemy in the United States in bringing a certain consciousness to the Black population. It was written in 1992. Voz Ativa was written in 1992 under the influence of the Black struggle for survival, a very striking and recurring theme in the Racionais MC's lyrics. Malcolm X quoted in the lyrics was the inspiration for the writing of this sound. Okay. Mano Brown said, I was reading Malcolm X's text at the time and I identified a lot with what he wrote. So Malcolm X has a huge influence in Brazil, as does Martin Luther King Jr. Then we talk about coming to understand that being Black or brown in Brazil and living in a favela, the slums, surrounding major cities. And you just see in the headlines how brutal the police are on the Black population. All of these articles are available over at blackbraziltoday.com. Definitely go over there and check them out. Defenders of white supremacy or white superiority in Brazil more powerful than the Ku Klux Klan. Brazil always says we've never had a Ku Klux Klan, so how can we be more racist in the United States? This is the João Batista de Lacerda, statesman from the early 1900s who presented. He spoke in the 1911 Universal Congress of Races, and he said that the Black race would disappear within 100 years, and our country's ethnic makeup would be white by then. Okay, go over and check out that article as well. Now, this Nordic ideal of beauty is very clear in Brazil. In Brazilian advertising, more than 90% of the protagonists continue to be white. This is what you see when you see advertisements in Brazil, right? So if you're so proud of a mixed population, how come you don't see a majority of these people in the ads, as we see that the mestizo population in Brazil was declared the majority? I think it was earlier this year or last year. So why does Brazil continue to indoctrinate its population with whiteness? Okay, it's very clear. We want you to disappear. He talked about the hair being rejected because of your kinky curly hair. This is an article from 2020. To me, you're a thief with this disgraceful hair. A military police officer assaulted a Black youth because he wore an afro. Okay, this was disgusting when I saw this. It's a young guy. I don't know. He might be somewhere between 15 and 19, maybe younger. Police, he's minding his own business. Police stops him, and just brutalizes him on the street. Condemns him. He said military police assaults Black youth because he wore an afro. This is the young man didn't want to show his face. He was traumatized. Can you imagine? But this is how Brazil sees Black hair. What else we have here is every Black Brazilian at a mall a suspect. College student files police report after store security accuses her of shoplifting. Search produces nothing. This is a common story. Black Brazilians go into a shopping mall or a supermarket or whatever, and they're accused of picking up something and leaving. This is what Ana Paula Bispo said. It happened to me. It happened today. Iguatemi shopping mall in Salvador, Bahia in Brazil's northeast. A lot of Black Brazilians have this same story. They called me a thief, said University of Bahia student who denounced racism in a shop. So this is something that goes on all the time. So when Coruja was talking about this, it's like being followed around in the store, being stopped for, people, security believing you stole something even when you didn't. Very common story. Your presence threatens security, followed and harassed by security. Young blacks organize protest against racism in a mall. Establishment denies accusation. This was in Belo Horizonte in the state of Minas Gerais. Denunciation of racism against mall security in the capital city of Minas Gerais. Protesters protest inside the mall. So this is what's going on. A lot of Black Brazilians are taking this. They're not taking these accusations of robbery or shoplifting just easily anymore. Years ago they wouldn't say anything. They just kind of accepted that this is how Brazil treated them. Not anymore. So right now, what I want to do is I want to talk a little more about who is Coruja BC1. Beyond rap, reflections on identity, spirituality, and Black ancestry. As one of the most established artists in national rap, Coruja BC1, or BC1, has a career spanning more than 10 years, 3 albums released, and a number of awards under his belt. Born in Osasco, a suburb of Sao Paulo, and having spent many years of his life in Bauru, the boy, who was known as Gustavo Vinicius, constructed his path of rap through rhymes that expresses his thoughts, experiences, and relationships in an authentic and courageous way. As an inspiration to many, the artist brings with him representations of ancestry and Black empowerment. Now, this article is from 2023. I don't know if he has another album out by now, but this is from 2023. So it says, in September, the rapper took to the stage at the Casa Natura Musical and brought his most recent EP, Versão Brasileira, Volume 1, produced by DJ Max News Beats, and let Herbert Fisher know that Coruja is a straight talker. There are 9 original tracks with some great guest appearances, such as MC Luana, Febem, and Hicon Sapiencia. As his first project with the Conzilla label, he presents his new phase with a mixture of rap with batuques or drums and grime, a musical style characterized by the fusion of funk, samba, and reggae. In this latest release, Coruja BC1 brings plurality as its essence and a sound that, while rich in reflections through rap rhymes, also involves urban rhythms and more fluid beats. The intention behind the project was to build a narrative that not only reflects the artist's own experience, but also alludes to the trajectory of other young people from the peripheries. The result is a production that invites not only contemplation and identification, but also celebration, providing moments of dance and fun for everyone who connects with the shared experiences. During his time at the Casa, we chatted about his music, ancestry, rap, and identity, both in musical production and in the ideas exchanged behind the scenes. Coruja talks about the Black and peripheral experience itself, also taking religiosity as a guide for redemption and strength. Convinced that music is a powerful bridge to spirituality, for him, there has always been a connection between his artistic expression and his faith. It's no coincidence that all religions and beliefs have a moment when they connect through a song or a touch of an instrument and connect with what they believe in. There's no way I can disassociate my music from my belief, because it was from my belief that I understand the value of my music, said the rapper. An initiate of the Yoruba cult Isesi Lagba, Coruja has a deep connection with the Orisha Eshu, responsible for messages and communication in African liturgy. In his compositions, the artist makes numerous references to this religious tradition and puts together his own message. For him, Eshu is present in every rap rhyme, and it is from his belief in the Orishas that he understands the power he has when he has a microphone in his hand, the ability to rescue both his ancestry and that of his peers. Just to touch on that a little bit, one of Brazil's religion, called the Candomblé, is an extension of the Yoruba faith, the Yoruba religion that came out of Nigeria years ago. This type of religion spread throughout the diaspora in the Caribbean and other countries in South America. Anybody who practices a Candomblé, so a lot of people do it in secret because they're persecuted. People of the Christian faith, particularly evangelicals, have been, let's say, repressing people who follow the Candomblé religion for years, decades. I mean, you could say centuries. They've tried to repress the Candomblé religion in Brazil. Along with the repression of the religion of itself, the Orisha, or the deity known as Eshu, people of the Christian faith see the God, the Orisha, Eshu, as a devil when that is absolutely not true. And a lot of Brazilians talk, a lot of Black Brazilians and even white Brazilians talk about what Eshu really means to them. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know the Yoruba cult. This version is called the Isisi Lagba. So that's something that he follows. He connects to his ancestry through this particular religion, and as I'm saying, is probably closely connected to the Candomblé. Let me see here. When it comes to identity, Coruja shows that as a Gemini, he has many facets. Let me see here. Yeah, he has many facets, which is no different from his artistic side. In 2021, he released Brasil Futurista, Futuristic Brazil, with 13 unreleased tracks and guest appearances by Margarete Menezes, Larissa Luz, and Jonathan Fair, these three people down here. This album shows a very musical repertoire and introduces Coruja beyond rap, moving into new genres such as samba, R&B, soul, and jazz. Jonathan Fair is one of my favorite of the newer musicians that have come out in the last decade to 15 years. All around great musician. He's versatile on the keyboards and the piano. His music has a bit of everything: candomblé influences, jazz influences, R&B influences, hip hop influences. The rapper Coruja appears on a track you can find on YouTube. Everybody's familiar with Margarete Menezes, artist who's been out since the late 80s, one of the newer militant activists of Black music in Brazil, Larissa Luz. I've talked about her in previous videos as well. When asked about his identity, Coruja addresses this issue of the non-place that mixed or light-skinned Black people experience on a daily basis, which manifests itself as a continuous process of search and dialogue. As part of an interracial family, the artist talks about a common place for many people and stresses that he doesn't want to prove anything to anyone and just wants to be honest about the place he occupies. I can't play, music. Obviously, it'd be restricted on, on YouTube. But this song is called La Fora. It's by Jonathan Fair, and it features these rappers, Lugizilla and Coruja BC1, who I'm talking about today. Definitely check that song out. He says, "There's no point in me wanting to speak in the place of a dark-skinned person. I'm a guy who is the fruit of an interracial relationship. I'm from a favela or a slum, from a Black family, from a white maternal family, both from the Northeast. And what I try to do both in my music and in my life is to find a way of living well within the skin I inhabit," he points out. I respect what he said there. He identifies himself as Black, but he understands as being a light-skinned and a mixed guy. He may have certain privileges in comparison to a darker skinned person, which I totally agree with that. He can still identify himself as Black, but still recognizing that within Blackness, he cannot speak for a person who's several shades darker than him as a light skinned man. Okay. Even though he's been through big changes, such as the transition of his record label and recent paternity of his first daughter, Zoe, Coruja has consolidated his own evolution and resistance over the years. At one point in his life, the lack of identity and the feeling of not belonging led him into a situation of violence, especially psychological violence, resulting in a state of deep discomfort. So this is his daughter, Zoe, and this is his wife. So what did you think about today's article, today's video? I think he touched on a lot of stuff in his interview. What strikes me about this guy, you may see him another way, but the hip hop that I used to love in the 90s, he strikes me just the way he looks. He would have fit in well with some of the rappers that were coming out of the Bay Area, Oakland, or just, West Coast rappers who fit more into the East Coast genre. Comes to mind groups like the Far Side and God, I can't think of the name of that other group. There was a group that made this song from 93 to Infinity, and I can't think of their name right now. But those groups, he looks like somebody who would have fit in those groups back in the day, right? Just from how he looks like, what he looks like. But what do you think about what he had to say? Rapper, he touched on a lot of topics in this video, and I want to get an idea of what you all thought about what he said, whether you agree, whether you disagree. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about this. I love reading the comments in the comment section. Can't respond to everybody, but I appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. Drop a comment in the comment section, like this video, share this video. Consider subscribing to the channel. Click on the notification bell so that you know when I put up another video. And with that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post.